Hi everyone, my name is Clara Petit and I'm going to show with this poster my master thesis work, Nestling, Begging Behavior, and Parental Food Allocation in flycatchers. So first, a quick introduction. How do songbirds' parents allocate food? When visiting the nest, most songbirds face several begging nestlings but can only feed one at a time. We know that in order to make that choice, parents use the chick's begging intensity, their physical condition, and their position in the nest. However, we don't know if those traits matter equally or if they influence each other at all. It's also important to keep in mind that responses from both sides of this nestling parent system can vary. Nestling begging can be honest, when the intensity of the signal reflects the individual's true needs, or competitive, when the intensity is superior than the chick's need. On the other hand, parents can feed actively by deciding which nestlings needs the food the most, or passively by letting the chicks compete between each other and feed the best competitors. With all that being said, I came up with two hypotheses. The first one was that nestling condition would impact nestling position in the nest and begging intensity differently according to the type of begging performed. If the chicks beg honestly, then those with the worst condition should beg more and be more often in optimal positions. On the contrary, if the chicks beg competitively, the ones with the best condition will be begging more and more often in optimal positions. My second hypothesis regarding parental differences was that females would tend to feed more actively than the males. Moving on to the methods, I collected data in the field by placing cameras in the nest boxes when the chicks were 6 days old and 12 days old. I assessed nestling mass on both days, and I used that as a proxy for nestling condition. I also used another proxy for condition, which was compensatory growth, which is basically the mass difference between day 6 and day 12. The image on the right shows how optimal position was determined. So the nest was divided with a six-part circular grid, with position A placed facing the entrance of the nest box. Because our nest boxes have an anti-predation shelf, I first tested and concluded that the chicks were fed more often in positions C, D, and E, so in the back of the nest. I also assessed that they were fed more often when they were closer to the center. In the end, a nestling was considered as being in the best position if its beak was in that green zone that you can see on the bottom right picture. I then conducted a piecewise structural equation modeling analysis in order to assess how each variable affected the success, which is being fed. On day 6, chicks that begged more and were more often in optimal positions received more food, with the effect of begging intensity being a bit more significant. Nestling condition did not significantly affect either variable. On day 12, position and begging intensity were also significantly affecting the success, meaning once again that the chicks that begged more and were more often in optimal positions received more food. Nestling mass had a significant effect, smaller nestlings begged more. And there was an interesting result regarding compensatory growth. You can see that there is a significant negative direct effect on the success, but a more significant positive indirect effect. Nestlings with the highest compensatory growth begged more and thus received more food. Regarding the second hypothesis, I did not include any of the values of the results on this poster because there was no differences between parents regarding feeding strategies. Finally, to conclude the study, results suggest that nestlings were begging honestly in this context, but additional research could consider the quality of the environment or extra pair siblings to see if that influences nestling begging. It could also take into account additional parental care behavior in order to assess potential differences between parental strategies. This work also showed the importance of indirect effects of individual variables and how they can be included in future similar studies. Thank you all for listening and do not hesitate to reach out if you have any questions.